January 24th, 2014. As soon as my face hit the pillow, my phone rang. I looked and it was one of my friends. And for the first time and only time in my life, I ignored the call. It was 10:54 p.m. I decided I'd call her in the morning because I was exhausted. 2 minutes later, my phone would ring again. To my surprise, it was her stepmother. With a shaky and broken voice, she pleaded with me to come help my friend. Confused but attentive, I was listening to her tell the story of what had happened. My heart broke as I could hear my friend screaming and crying in the background. My friend, who was standing straight up, suddenly fell flat on her face because something pulled her feet out from under her. Her stepmother watched in horror as something unseen pulled her into the darkness by her ankles. That's when she called me. At the time, I lived in room 101 in the Walking Horse Hotel. Alone, I began the drive into the darkness to what would become my third exorcism. Now in Shelbyville, her stepmother opened the door. I stepped through and looked to my left across the room, and there was my friend, or what used to be my friend. In disbelief, I just stared at her for a moment. She was on all fours on the ground. She began growling like an animal and hissing at the same time. Multiple sounds came from her, but it wasn't her. They seemed to echo out from within her. And if looks could kill, the look in her eyes wasn't human. I've looked in those eyes thousands of times before. That was no longer my friend. She was possessed. The spirit continued to growl and hiss. Then she smiled while she was choking. The arrogance on her face I would never forget, along with the pleasure that the spirit got from choking the literal life out of my friend before my eyes. Now a fire growing inside me, I approached her with my only weapon in hand, a highlighted, tattered, and torn NIV Bible. I held out the Bible, the same Bible that was used in my previous 2 exorcisms, and said, "Do you remember this?" Instantly, the cocky spirit cowered down in fear and backed into a corner. "That's what I thought," I said. "Now get on the couch." And to my surprise, without a struggle, the spirit obeyed. I approached her. Now face to face with the demon, the spirit glared at me with death in its eyes, and more noises began to manifest from within her. God put the impression on my heart to have her say the name Jesus. Tears began to build in her eyes as I knew she was literally fighting for her life in front of me. I instructed her to say the name Jesus. The spirit began choking her, and it was almost impossible for her to say the first letter. This was the calmest I'd ever been in this type of situation. I simply smiled with a reassuring smile and love in my eyes, filled with peace and power. I said, "Good. Now do it again." Each time she tried, she got a little further. It wasn't until the 5th attempt until she finally uttered the full name, Jesus. Immediately she stopped choking, and the spirit that was once present vanished into the unknown. My friend instantly broke and began crying her eyes out as I wrapped my arms around her. Her stepmother began to cry as well. Myself fighting back tears, trying to be strong for them. I don't know why I felt like I was in complete control during this entire exorcism, and I didn't understand because the first 2 that I performed, I was anything but in control.